and welcome to Democracy in Action. This is a political debate for the 101st seat in the Illinois State House of Representatives. I'm Tara Nickerson from Talk 101 FM. I'm going to be the moderator for this evening's debate. Before the candidates join us, allow me to introduce our panelists. Representing the Decatur Area Technical Academy is MacArthur High School senior Bailey Schomperlin. Bailey is also Student News Director for Channel 22. From Talk 101 FM is morning show host and producer Scott Busboom. And representing Richland Community College is Chris Pullick, Phi Beta Lambda Chapter President and also Director of Advertising for the Richland Community College Communicator. Thank you to all of our panelists and our studio audience for taking time to be here for this important event as we face critical November elections. Now we'd like to introduce the candidates. Democrat Bob Flider is the incumbent, and he is challenged in this race by Republican and Decatur City Council member Adam Brown. Here are the guidelines for this evening's debate. Our panelists are going to take turns asking questions. Each candidate is going to have 1 minute to answer the question, and the other candidate will be allowed to respond as well. After approximately 30 minutes, members of the audience are going to have the opportunity to ask questions about issues that were not previously addressed in this debate. Following the audience questions, we're going to take a brief break. Then each candidate is going to be given 3 minutes to make a closing statement. We've determined the order of questions with a coin toss, and so...
Actually, I think we haven't tossed a coin yet.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take care of that now. Yep.
And I have a photo card in my pocket. Does anybody have a coin?
Let me take a moment to remind you, if you have your cell phones, if you could please turn those off. Setting them to vibrate could interrupt the recording equipment, so we prefer that you turn them completely off if at all possible. All right. Call this. And it is tails.
Okay.
Mr. Brown, you can step on up. And Bailey Schomperlin from the Tech Academy is going to start.
To begin with, what do you perceive to be the job description of the state representative of the 101st District, and how much influence does the state representative have in what goes in the state government?
Well, firstly, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. State representative is an extremely important position, and this year especially we understand the impact the state representative will have in the General Assembly. State representative's position is to vote on matters that are important to their constituents and that are in the best interests of their constituents. And so we are elected to do be your voice in Springfield and to work on your behalf. So thank you again for having me out this evening. I look forward to the conversation.
Representative Flider, would you also like the opportunity to answer that question?
Yeah, thank you. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you to all who have put this together. This place looks fantastic, and I think students here have done a great job, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. State representative simply is this, a person who would represent not only the people of this area, but also work with community leaders to improve the quality of life and make our community a better place. That means everything from trying to enhance our economic opportunities, our recreational opportunities, and certainly our educational opportunities. And one example I would point out is when Farm Progress Show was slated to come to our area, our community leaders had a great vision to bring it here. And one of the things that was really important is that we moved quickly on developing it and getting paved roads. We have paved roads now at Farm Progress to deal with that, so that the hundreds of thousands of visitors who come in now are not inconvenienced by weather or rain, as contrasted by the show in Iowa, which was virtually flooded out this year. So that is just but one example of working with community leaders on their needs, and I think it's one of our priorities. Thank you.
And now Scott Busboom will start, and he has a question for
Mr. Flider. This question is for Mr. Flider. Do you plan on supporting Governor Quinn's call for an income tax hike? And if not, would you be in favor of a tax hike if it came in combination with across-the-board spending cuts?
I have stated on numerous occasions that I am not in favor of an income tax increase, and in fact, I've voted against an income tax increase. And I've had protests outside my office by people who think we should have had an income tax increase. But I feel like now is not the time during the downturn in the economy. One of the last things we want to do is chase jobs out of our area, and I'm concerned that an income tax increase could do that. I talked to an awful lot of people in the community who are having a hard time making ends meet. Two earner incomes where one has lost their job, so they're suffering and they're having a difficult time. I don't anticipate an income tax increase. I certainly would not vote for an income tax increase, but I would support as a line-by-line review of the budget so that we can look at specific costs that could be eliminated and waste that could be eliminated. This year we cut nearly $3 billion from the budget, and I think that's the best approach, tightening our belt and passing reforms that save money.
Thank you, Representative Flider. Would you also like to answer that question?
Sure. I would not support a tax increase. At this point in time, Decatur has a 12.4% unemployment. That's actually the third highest in the entire state of Illinois. So pushing another burden, another tax burden in this case, on the people of Illinois would be extremely hurtful as far as I'm concerned. For instance, in my family, personally, my brother's out of work. He's been employed for the past 6 months. He would like to work. He's a union carpenter. Unfortunately, the jobs just haven't been there for him. So putting another hardship through an income tax increase is something I would not support.
Mr. Brown, if you'd like to stay up at the mic, I believe you have a question for him.
Councilman Brown, you said that you're not in support of an income tax increase. More specifically, how would you address budgeting issues without the need of an income tax increase?
Well, I think we have to cut spending at a number of levels. If you take a hard look at our welfare situation, welfare handouts have actually doubled over the past 10 years, from $7 billion to nearly $15 billion a year. I think there's a lot of fraud, a lot of waste in that system that needs to be accounted for. You take a look at our handouts to illegal immigrants here in the state of Illinois. We've spent $4.9 billion last year across the state of Illinois in handouts to illegal immigrants. I think that needs to be cut back. You also take a look at photo identification for link cards in the welfare system. That could be a helpful regulation, as well as drug testing for welfare recipients.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Representative Flider, would you like the opportunity to address that question as well?
Yes, thank you. I think first and foremost, it's important to recognize that we have in the legislature cut our budget. Our revenues are significantly down due to the downturn in the economy, due to high unemployment. Sales tax and income tax revenues are down to the tune of billions of dollars in the state of Illinois. So the challenge, of course, we face is trying to make ends meet with the dollars that are available. And I believe that we need to take a new approach at governing and passing a budget, and that is a performance-based budget, whereby we look at the revenues that are available to the state of Illinois and say, just like families must do and just like businesses, we must live within those means and determine how best we're going to spend those dollars that are available. So I think we need to drastically change the system while at the same time looking at the programs that are wasteful in our state. And I think Adam brought up some of those, but we have a long way to go to cut out the waste. Thank you.
Mr. Flider, he'll address this question to you first. Sorry, Representative Flider.
Call me Bob.
Candidates, you are both aware of the state's financial situation and will face challenges ahead regardless of the outcome of the election. Many of the people I have spoken to seem to have unemployment and state budgeting issues in the forefront of their minds. Education is considered the path out of unemployment and poverty. A bolstered workforce could bring in more tax revenue, increase economic growth. Yet the state of Illinois is having difficulty dealing with issues involving the funding of academic institutions and various education-related expenses. My question is, how will you address funding shortages for academic institutions, student organizations, and the MAP grant?
It's clear to me that these are difficult times, and whether you're an educational institution or the state of Illinois, what's needed is that everybody needs to look at tightening their belt and controlling expenditures. With regard to the MAP grant, we have actually appropriated, given the governor the opportunity through appropriation to authorize the MAP grant program. I worked my way through college, and I know that many others are having to do that as well. One of the things I think, however, is very important is that we support our local institutions. I'm very heartened with the Decatur Education Coalition. In addition, I was very pleased this year in the capital bill to be able to put $3.5 million into the budget for the Richland Community College Student Success Center, which we hope will be constructed here in the very near future.
Well, first and foremost, as far as education is concerned, we have to keep good educators here in Illinois. And the trend in the state of Illinois for the past 8 years has been to raid the pensions to pay for other obligations. I think we need to get that money back into the pension systems, a total of $80 billion in unfunded pensions this year. We need to get that back into the pension system so we can draw good teachers here over the long term. Another factor that teachers are facing right now is the two-tiered pension system. With this system, new educators come into the field and they'll have to work until the age of 67 to receive full retirement benefits. I think that's a travesty, and I think that's another good way to lose good educators here in Illinois.
Mr. Brown, Bailey's question will be directed at you first.
In Macon County, the voters in November will decide on a sales tax to benefit all the schools in Macon County. Currently, much of the school funding is based on property taxes. First, how will each of you personally vote on this tax increase proposal, and what sort of method do you believe is most fair for taxpayers to fund education?
Well, personally, I oppose all tax increases. As I mentioned earlier, the hardships on our constituents here in Decatur area are very real and very present. We have to cut spending in the state of Illinois. There's no doubt about it. We need to cut spending to illegal immigrants, and we need to make those cuts back in the welfare system, as I mentioned earlier. Here in Illinois, we have a $13 billion deficit, so the fix isn't going to come overnight by any means. But again, we didn't get into this situation overnight either.
Representative Flider, would you like to answer that question as well?
Sure. Could you repeat the question, please?
How will you vote on the tax increase proposal, and what sort of method do you believe is most fair for taxpayers to fund education?
Well, I have consistently voted against tax increases in my position as a state representative. And with regard to the tax proposal that is now pending, I feel that many good people have worked long and hard to bring this to a point where it's now going to be considered by the voters. And I believe as often as possible we do need to put democracy before the voters. One of the things I'm very concerned about is that by taking a position on this issue that this would politicize it one way or another. And so what I would just say is I trust the judgment of the people to determine what is best for our community. And again, do not want to politicize this or see this involved in any kind of a political discussion involving my race.